Hello, welcome to week 2 of Philosophies of Life. This lecture and the other instructional and source materials for Unit 1, weeks 2 and 3 of this class, are paired with Philosophy Toolkit 1, The Examined Life. Please take notes on the important concepts, distinctions, people, and debatable theses from that handout as you review the materials for this unit. Week 1 oriented you to our course and introduced you to our course theme, Technology and the Examined Life. We began to examine humans' relationship with technology, and we learned about technological innovations with world-shaping significance. For an additional perspective, we began reading Huxley's novel, Brave New World, which offers a literary lens through which to examine a technological society gone awry, or maybe not gone awry, depending on your perspective. We will continue to read Huxley's Brave New World throughout this class as we examine what it means to live a good or meaningful human life in a technological world. During weeks 2 and 3 of this course, which make up Unit 1, The Examined Life, we will pull back a little bit from our focus on technology to think a bit about what philosophy is, what it means to live an examined life, and why anyone would bother to do so. We'll start with Socrates, who, though he himself wrote nothing, is considered to be a founder of Western philosophy. Socrates lived and died in the ancient Greek city-state of Athens. He was sentenced to death at the age of 70 for the crimes of corrupting the youth and not believing in or following the gods of the city. If we follow the account of his student Plato, Socrates was really sentenced to death for practicing philosophy. But what is philosophy? The word philosophy is formed from two Greek words put together, philia, a noun referring to a kind of love or affection that draws you towards something, makes you seek out the beloved in order to spend time in their company, and Sophia, which originally meant a sort of skill or cleverness in craftsmanship, but also came to mean a higher knowledge or wisdom. So philosophy then is the love of, or the seeking after, or the desire to be in the company of wisdom. And Socrates, as you will see from the description of him in this week's sources, literally walked around the marketplace in Athens every day seeking out wisdom, attempting to locate and then spend time in the company of wisdom. So when Plato portrays Socrates as having really been sentenced to death for practicing philosophy, what he means is that Socrates, in his search for wisdom, in his love for and desire to be in the company of wisdom, went around testing, examining, and challenging the city's religious and political authorities, as well as the conventionally accepted values and morality of his society. And he got in big trouble for doing it. In other words, according to Plato, Socrates is the personification not only of what it means to live an examined life, but to die for an examined life. In the podcast, Socrates on BBC's In Our Time, you will be introduced to the ancient Greek world of Athens and provided more context and background on the historical character of Socrates, who is credited by his student Plato with the quotation, "The unexamined life is not worth living for man," and who, according to historical accounts, lived and urged his fellow citizens to live an examined life in pursuit of wisdom, virtue, and human flourishing. The historical context and background information provided in the podcast will help you to make sense of our primary philosophy reading assignment for weeks 2 and 3 for Unit 1, Plato's Apology, which presents Plato's version of Socrates' defense at his trial for his life. Our reading, which is posted on Blackboard, comes from this collection of 4 other Socratic dialogues also written by Plato. Many of the concepts from Unit 1 Philosophy Toolkit will be introduced or explained in this podcast, so keep that handout handy while you're listening. For a different, more modern, but not necessarily opposing view on what it means to live an examined life, practice philosophy as a way of life, or seek to live in the company of wisdom, we turn to the thought of 20th century philosopher Martin Heidegger, as interpreted by the American philosopher Hubert Dreyfus. Martin Heidegger is one of the few philosophers in the Western canon to pay special attention to the nature of technology and to the question of what it means to be human in a modern technological age. Dreyfus, an American philosopher whose work has largely been in the area of artificial and human intelligence, has reinterpreted Heidegger's examination of technology and being human for the 21st century. In this week's documentary, Being in the World, filmmaker Tao Ruspoli uses Heidegger's and Dreyfus's reinterpretation of the examined life to explore the question of what it means to be human in a technological age. I hope you enjoy this documentary as much as I do. It's one of my favorites. So I am very excited to hear your views on the value of living an examined life in a technological age. Don't forget to read the journal and debate assignment instructions carefully before examining this week's sources. As always, if you have any questions or concerns about this week's materials or assignments, do not hesitate to reach out.